Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jordan Davis Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and on today's episode, I want to do something different. I want to talk about just one topic in particular. I want to talk about what is the legacy of Reylo. What is, at the end of the day, after the saga is over, after the sequel trilogy is over, when we remember it about 5, 10 years down the road, what was the storytelling legacy all about? What was Ray and Ben's relationship all about? How can we look at it as like, wow, that was very different than we've ever seen before? And how does this compare to other storytelling we've seen on the big screen? And even similar to other Star Wars stories, like Han and Leia's relationship, like how we view them, Anakin and Luke, Anakin and Padme. How are we gonna remember these characters? Now, obviously, we don't exactly know how it truly is going to end. I think we have an assumption on how this is going to end, but I think that's a great discussion to have today. In your mind, what is the legacy of Reylo? I think that's a great topic to discuss today because that has been in my mind for the last couple of days with the Rise of Skywalker getting pretty close and it's really getting excited. We're getting some more stuff about what Rey and Ben's relationship is and how it's going to conclude and how this romance is going to conclude. Yes, I said romance. That they're doing a romance. But I think that's something I really want to get into today. So, but before I get into that, I hope everyone is having a great and happy Veterans Day for all the veterans out there who are listening, are new to listening to my podcast. Thank you for all the service you have done. Doesn't matter what kind of service you've done. Thank you for protecting this country and protecting the USA. So I just want to thank you for that. And to all the people who are new to my podcast, I talk about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and Reylo. And if you like my content, make sure to like and subscribe and do all those things that you want to do. Even comment. I love to hear your feedback. So, going into Reylo, what is the legacy of Reylo? Because I think we can really get into all kinds of stuff of what Reylo is going to be and how this relationship has really going to complete the saga and how it's going to really make it balanced in a way because there's so many people that have so many opinions about Reylo. They like it, they dislike it, they're not sure of it yet. And from my understanding, after The Last Jedi, most people want to see Reylo. They want to see this relationship in a good way. Now there are some people who don't like it at all, and that's perfectly fine. That's your choice and that's okay. And there's some people that's like, I'm not sure yet. I really need to see the end product to really judge it on its own. And I totally understand that as well. Because when I look back at the last couple of movies from J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams really set up Reylo. I wish he gave more hints to the general audience that it would have been easier for people to get on board with it and not cause such a divide in the fandom. But I really did think Ryan Johnson really helped more people to see the relationship between Ray and Ben in a, I wouldn't say just romantic way, because I really do think the relationship goes much further into romance. I think their relationship, in a way, is healing them both, is really finding their purpose inside each other. Because in their own way, they're going on their own hero's journey. To be perfectly honest, they're going on their hero's journey. I don't think it's the same hero's journey that we've seen in movies. And I think that's what's kind of unique about this kind of story that they're telling in the sequel trilogy. That these two characters who are starting on opposite sides are going on their hero's journey, and that they're going to meet at the crescendo of when it's their hero's journey is finished and when it's finally complete. And I think that's what I kind of like love about this relationship, that both of them are protagonists, but they're not the normal protagonists. They're very complex, they're very complicated, and you have to give it to J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson for really creating these characters. I think J.J. Abrams more set it up. I think Ryan Johnson really put in the complexity of the relationship as he said, complicated enemies. And I think from a sense we're gonna see more of that, because if you look at the marketing of the Rise of Skywalker, even in the latest trailer for the Rise of Skywalker, you see Rey really mad, very angry. I would say even at the level of Kylo Ren when he was facing Luke on Crate. I would say at that level, she's angry. And you just see Ben walking through the mist like Mr. Darcy, like I've been saying since it came out, and he's calm, cool, and collective. And I think what's interesting, Rey is exploring her feelings and through the dark side and through all of it. But Ben, the more we see Ben, I think the more he is wavering to the light side. And I think it's going to be very interesting, especially when they deal with Dark Ray. Because before I recorded the podcast today, I read a quote. Daisy really talking about Dark Ray. He's talking about how Dark Ray was pitched to her and how it was really unexpected, but she thought it was amazing. So I don't know how Dark Ray really comes into this whole hero's journey with Ray, or even the story of the Rise of Skywalker. But I truly believe it's going to be something we've never seen before. And I think it's the same way on Ben's redemption. I think there's going to be some things that we see that J.J. Abrams is going to do that we have never seen in a redemption arc, maybe even in a Star Wars kind of arc. Because I think Rey exploring the dark side and her feelings and her emotion and her anger, I think it's gonna be the reverse of Ben. He's really exploring the light side. Along along with all that, we're gonna deal with their relationship and their feelings that they have for each other as well. And how does Palpatine get into that? I really don't know. And I think that's the one thing I'm really intrigued about this movie. There's things we have no idea how it's going to end up. We really don't. So many things could and could not happen that we truly won't not understand or truly won't see what will happen until we see the movie. Because yeah, there's been, speculation, leaks and all that from trailers and stuff. And I would say some leaks have been right, but I would only say about 30% of them, 30-40%. It's only because I think people have seen trailers, so maybe that's why some leaks were true. But I truly believe that we have barely seen any of the movie. I don't believe we have barely seen the third act. I think the third act's probably gonna be crazy. It's gonna blow our mind and everything. And now this all going to end. It's gonna be one of those big third act things, because from what we've seen from the trailer, it's just going to be crazy. It really is. From the space battle, you pretty much have every fan service spaceship from the past movies and animated series in like this final act of the Rise of Skywalker, just going to, you know, go on full galore spaceships fighting from the Resistance. Maybe the First Order they joined the Resistance to face the Sith troopers. I mean, anything goes in this movie, and anything's gonna go in the third act. And that also means what in the world's gonna happen between Palpatine and Rey and Ben. But to go back to the relationship on Rey and Ben, I always thought, and how they developed, that these two characters would be the major cause of bringing balance to the Force. Because I don't think Rey could be that balance on her own. Because I don't think one person could be that balanced. I mean, you just look at, at Anakin. He could never be the balance. Even though he was the chosen one, he fell to the dark side. Now you could say he was meant to fall to the dark side, but when he did, the Force balanced it out with Darth Vader and Palpatine on one side, and you had Han and Leia on the other side. So you got two versus two, balance. And now when you go back to this sequel trilogy, I don't think it's gonna be two on two, light side versus dark side, two people on the dark side, two people on the light side. I believe that this is exactly what Palpatine said in the trailer, but it's gonna be reversed. How Palpatine said, "Your coming together will be your undoing," but when they come together, it will not be their undoing. It will be the total opposite of being them coming together is the right thing. It will fix everything. Now, I think that's just in a I don't think that's just in a romantic way. I think that's just for a force saving the galaxy kind of way. That they need these two super strong entities of the force, which is Ben Solo and Rey, coming together and fighting as one. And I think that's what we got teased in The Last Jedi. And wait, when they come together, especially in that throne room, that was a tease of what could be for the Rise of Skywalker. They just gave us a tease, a taste of what that could look like. And I think, however that may be, the Rise of Skywalker is just gonna put that on the 10th degree. It's gonna enhance that 10 times more. And you really have to do that with if you're gonna fight Palpatine. You really do. And I think there's other thing you can think about the relationship, that their relationship is not only going to heal themselves. It's not only going to do that. It's going to heal the galaxy. That these two lonely souls who have been lonely their whole entire life, and I really do. We're going to find out just how lonely Ben Solo is in The Rise of Kylo Ren comic series. I think we're gonna find out just how lonely he was and how lonely Ray was, and that in their loneliness and in their heartache and just being so alone, thinking they had no one in the galaxy to depend on. I think them coming together, not just healing the galaxy, but healing themselves. They're healing each other. They're becoming one. I guess you could say they're becoming one soul, one soulmate. And I talked about a couple of weeks ago about Kylo Ren and Rey being soulmates, because I think that's what that force bond truly is. The force is bringing them together, so practically the force is healing their souls with one another. And I can't think of a better way to really describe that relationship. They are really healing each other with embracing each other, with being side by side with each other. And I really do think the relationship is going to grow in that way, because it's it's just so a great way to really describe that relationship. Not not to really put any like name on it, to put any kind of title on it, because like I said before, they're going past romance. This goes way, way past romance. And yes, there will be romance in this, because I think this was always about the love story. It's always been about the love story for J.J. Abrams. I think that's what mostly Star Wars is. And it's about forgiveness, family, hope, but it's also about the love story. Love has always been the centric of the Star Wars storytelling. You look at Anakin and Padme and how they had a tragic love story. Then you had a love story with Han and Leia and Anakin and Luke about a father and son, their love story. And I think we're going back to a romance that was done right. Not to be bittersweet, but finally a romance you can finish the saga on, that two people come together who are the exact same, and they are helping each other with one problem that each of them have. to be perfectly honest, they both have a lot of problems, but they are helping each other out get through the problems that they have together. That's how we're gonna win together. That's how we're gonna move on together. So it goes more deeper than romance. It's all about healing each other's soul. These broken souls, it's about the Force repairing them, but Rey and Ben are repairing them together. I think that's just a great way to see it because yes, they're gonna bring balance to each other, but I just think really the Force bringing these broken souls together to repair each other so they can be complete. So while they are healing each other, they are able to heal the galaxy. They are able to fix what started this broken galaxy, this broken universe of the Skywalkers. They could finally come together and fix it. And finally the Force and the galaxy can rest at peace. And how JG's gonna do that, I have no idea. But I think I'm getting more and more excited and encouraged that whatever he's going to do is something that we have never seen J.J. Abrams done before. And I like hearing him say what Ryan Johnson did in The Last Jedi really encouraged him to really go for it. To really go for it. And I'm excited to see that. How does he go for it? How does he really conclude this relationship? What is the legacy of Reylo at the end of the day? Now, the legacy of Reylo can be anything that you want. It could be anything. But particularly for me, the legacy of Reylo, I think going past romance, going past all the things we can think of to really to go deep into this relationship, I think it's really fixing each other, healing each other, and coming together. And yes, there will be romantic implications into that, but I just think healing each other's soul to finally be right after all these years the characters have been going through. I think and to finally be happy, to finally have their souls mended how it was meant to be. I think that's just a beautiful thing to look at, and how the Force have really brought them together. Now, were they always meant to come together? I don't know. I mean, that's up to you and your interpretation. Um, I'm just thinking it as the story from what I've seen from the first two movies and what we can possibly see in the Rise of Skywalker and everything we're hearing. Um, I just think at the end of the day, this is going to be a romance, a relationship, a legacy of two souls, two broken souls coming together to fix each other. And while coming together, they make each other right. So they can be together. And I just really think that's a beautiful thing to think about. And now you can think I'm crazy and think, well, crazy, Jordan. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is what the Force was going to do all along. Maybe this was the story all along. That these two characters would come together at the biggest moment, at the worst times, when Palpatine comes back. They come together to finally defeat the greatest evil that has ever lived, and that is Palpatine. The man who created the curse of the Skywalkers will finally have his defeat by the hands of Ben Solo and Rey, because them, Rey and Ben, coming together and as one, being perfectly united and perfectly balanced, not just mentally, not just physically, but spiritually, body and soul. So I think at the end of the day, that's gonna be the legacy of Reylo for me. Two entities, two amazing, unbelievable, powerful Force users coming together to heal the galaxy and to heal each other mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I think that's just a beautiful way to look at it and a beautiful way to end the saga. That's how Reylo is going to be to me in the legacy of of how we look back on it. So yeah, tell me what do you think the legacy of Reylo will be? Comment down below. What is your interpretation of Reylo? How do you think when you look back on these movies, how will you reflect on Reylo? How and that's I I know it's hard to reflect on when you have not seen The Rise of Skywalker, but we have assumptions of how it might end. But for now, what is the legacy of Reylo to you? Give me your feedback. Give me everything. I would love to hear from you and what the legacy in your mind, what the legacy of Reylo is. So that's going to be the end of the podcast for this week. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for commenting and all that you do. And I thank you that you support the podcast. For any kind of support, I thank you so much. Now, until next time, I hope you have a blessed and wonderful week. This is Jordan Davis. Check it out. See you later. Bye.